Great Mother, he whispered softly, we honor your spirit. He imagined the mammoth's soul rising on the breeze. With careful hands, he withdrew his knife from the beast's neck. The bull's chest no longer heaved. Tali and Nulsa stood quietly, blood and snow on their hands. Around them, only the steady crackle of the hunter's fire broke the silence as they worked. Time to cook, Kael said at last, voice flat with exhaustion. They moved with practiced skill under the pale winter sky. The mammoth lay generous before them. Its thick meat was cut into strips and hung on branches to dry. Its fat was boiled for lamps and to grease fur. Even the bones were split for marrow and tools. Sparks flew as blades were sharpened and fires stoked. Crystals on the surrounding ice glinted in the firelight like tiny stars. By the end of the hour, every part of the bull was being used. That night, the hunters feasted around a new fire. Flames licked at the heavy slabs of roasting meat. Kael chewed slowly, savoring the oily fat that burned sweet on his tongue. He felt strong and full for the first time in a long time. Outside, gray clouds rolled in from the north. He remembered Ral's words, the world would not remain still. Ral stood, leaning on his carved walking staff. The old man's eye shone in the firelight. Brave hunters, he said, his voice clear over the crackling wood. You have honored our tribe today. The mammoth's gift is our life. Tonight we feast. Tomorrow we move on. This world will not remain still. Taru, sitting beside Kael, murmured a soft lullaby from memory. A few children huddled by the fire, pretending to stomp on imaginary mammoths. Taru poked at the flames with a stick. Kael leaned back on a bed of skins, his body sore but alive. Outside, distant thunder rumbled as the first snow began. The clan gathered their meager remnants of camp into a protected circle. Ral whispered a prayer to the wind. Kael lay awake listening to the storm's cry, feeling Taru's heartbeat steady next to his. Brother, Taru finally whispered, tell me of the hunt again. Kael allowed himself a tired smile. It was great and terrible, he began, and retold the story in quiet tones. He described the mammoths charging, Tali's brave shout, the mammoth's cry as it fell. Taru closed her eyes and imagined it all by the firelight. Kael even mimicked the crash of tusks with his own arms, and Taru giggled softly. All around them, the clan listened between sips of warm broth, caught between pride and relief. Ral nodded as Kael spoke of the northern lights dancing among the clouds and how he believed they were the ancestors' spirits celebrating their survival. By dawn, the storm had passed, snow still draped the trees, but the sky was clearing to blue. The Aruk packed their camp quickly. A fresh foot of snow covered all their tracks. It was as if their passage had been washed clean. Kael strapped heavy tallow pots of rendered fat to his belt and readied his spear. Each man and woman felt lighter at heart. Ral stood and pointed ahead. The forest below hid softer winds and a return of spring, he announced. The clouds to the south were indeed thinning. Kael felt hope kindle in his chest. They marched all morning. The pine trees grew taller and the snow thinned. The air smelled of melting sap and returning life. Shafts of sunlight fell between the branches, warming their faces. Taru skipped behind Kael, and even Tali grinned as the sun's warmth brought sweat to his brow. Birds, timid at first, began to call again. Kael closed his eyes for a moment and breathed deeply. These were sounds of life. About midday they emerged into a melting meadow. Streams trickled through grass dotted with early flowers. The winter's ice banks turned to small brooks. Kael paused to touch a young spruce's fresh needles, feeling them spring under his fingers. A drop of sap fell onto his palm and glistened like a jewel. He smiled. Life was truly returning. Taru raced to a shallow creek and cupped its cool, clear water. Nearby, a mother deer and her spotted fawn bounded away into the woods. Taru laughed and splashed Kael playfully. One day we will hunt the deer, she said. Kael covered her mouth to keep from laughing as well. Tali, walking beside him, managed a full genuine grin for the first time in moons. As dusk fell, the Aruk climbed a gentle rise. Below lay a broad river valley, green and gold in the evening light. Smoke spiraled from a ring of dome-shaped tents. Children ran to greet them, their play paused as newcomers arrived. Above, a pale moon was rising, as if giving silent blessing. Tears welled in Taru's eyes. She had not seen these lands since infancy. It all seemed like a dream: the breadbaskets, the laughing children, the sweet smell of pine and flowers carried on warm air. Kael put a hand on her shoulder. "We made it," he said quietly. His voice trembled with relief and joy. Taru's face broke into a smile, and she leaned into him. The villagers of Sunpath Camp surrounded them. At first, everyone paused in awe. Then a tall woman broke forward, Nan, Taru's grandmother. Nan threw herself on Taru, crying out her name and pressing the girl to her chest. Taru melted into her arms. Around them, the Sunpathkin reached out. A young man wrapped Kael in a bear fur cloak, and a girl offered Taru a carved bone toy. Kael bowed deeply to Nan and the elders, accepting the warm stew offered to him. That night, the Aruk were hosted as honored guests. Outside, the campfire burned high and bright. Kael and Taru sat wrapped in furs by the blaze, fed until they could eat no more. The warmth of the fire was like a promise. Kael drank sweet nut broth and watched children dance in the flickering light. His hands, once numb from the cold, now felt the heat of life. Around the fire, Kael retold every detail of their journey: the great mammoth, the mighty roar, the night storm, and how Taru had nearly been lost. Taru added her own part with a shy smile, describing how Kael had dove into icy water to pull her out. Faces listened in the glow. Young and old alike stared in admiration. When Kael mentioned the northern lights, one elder nodded. "We have long believed the spirits of our ancestors watch from above," he said. An old woman then began a soft song, a prayer of thanks to the earth and sky. The melody rose, mixing with the crackle of the fire and the distant hoot of an owl. In that moment, Kael realized how far they had come, from hungry fear under a dead sky to comfort and kinship under the stars. Taru, full and warm at his side, fell asleep with her head on his shoulder. Kael gently brushed a loose lock of Taru's hair from her face. Outside, dawn's first birds began to sing. The camp around them still slept peacefully. He felt the last of the storm pass away. The long night of ice had ended. In the quiet of that final moment, Kael thought of every roar, every whisper, every challenge they had faced. He tightened his arm around Taru. His last waking thought was gratitude for warmth, for family, for survival. With Taru's small hand clasped in his, Kael finally closed his eyes to sleep, knowing that come morning, they would greet a new day together.